Hello? Yes, I'm at the crematorium now to conduct this service for you. Yes, but there's nobody here. Not that I know or recognise. Only about 20 or so mourners. No sign of the undertakers. No order of service. But the worst part, a woman has just said that she's looking forward to my eulogy. My eulogy? I never met him. You knew him. He was one of your congregation, not mine. Where have you left a copy of what I'm supposed to say, then? You didn't have time? What do I do? What? Wing it? How do I... Oh, Lord, they're bringing him in. Here goes nothing. Oh, before you go, what was he called? Hello? Hello? Oh, bugger. Good morning. We are gathered here today, on this day, today, to celebrate the life and commit for cremation our dear friend, our dear friend, known to all and indeed to me as the name so beautifully inscribed on his coffin, which we can all see as being Malcolm, Morris, Mervyn. Yes, of course, dear unforgettable Mervyn, who died on the date, which is also tastefully recorded on his coffin as being recently. He was taken from us all too soon and tragically by an unforgiving and ultimately an unavoidable episode of death. Murray was born in childhood, at an exceptionally young age, remarkable really for one so young, an achievement which stayed with him throughout his life. The place of his infant nurture was, as you are all aware, where he was born, and where his life truly began, in his home, where he lived, at the beginning of his life, his birthplace, at birth. Indeed, in comparison with other children who were his peers, born at the same time, he was their equal in age, with many claiming to have been as young as he, which I'm sure is apparent to you all. And it was not long before time and its inevitable march took their wearisome yet not too unexpected toll, and he did, as one might undoubtedly assume, grow up somewhere, known and fondly remembered by some, especially those who knew where it was, many of whom are represented here today, probably. His parents were, as one would expect, his mother and father, and we do know that they took an equal role in his being brought into this world, each contributing something of themselves to ensure his birth. On attending school, the name of which requires no further elaboration, Mark immersed himself in learning and education, as one does, at school, aided by a constant reference to a not too unsubstantial body of reference materials, which we commonly know in this modern age as books. And through no small measure of application on his part, he did, as one might expect, become cognizant with their contents, and was very, very successful in reading books of an educational, practical, and informative nature, to an extent that with quite a degree of achievement he did, without any shadow of a doubt, succeed in school in learning things. Yes, aided by his teachers, many of whom taught him subjects, the basis of which, and collectively, amounted to his education at the school you are all familiar with. Indeed, knowledge was the foundation to Maxwell's learning about the world, and successfully prepared him for the life he was eventually to lead in doing the things which he did, when he did them. This newfound learning he applied with all due diligence and alacrity, culminating in him obtaining certain accepted and recognized tokens of educational achievement in the form of certain quite specific qualifications, all of which I know requires no further elucidation on my part at this precise moment, thankfully. These, we are all aware, set him up for a life in work, as an employee, as indeed we all are or have been at one time or another, and in this we can be comforted, I say, that we shared an understanding of that bond we all had with him at one time or another, in working, in a job, albeit for some of you not the same career, balanced by the unerring likelihood that it may have been for some of you the same career in a working guise, or not. Outside of work and family, he had certain interests which occupied his time as pastimes often do. As the name suggests, he used them to pass the time in a most enjoyable and constructive manner, bringing himself much happiness and satisfaction. Whether one might make that leap of faith to consider them as well. Hobbies is a matter for you, and especially those with whom he shared them, or not. Matthew's unwavering and unerring faith in a belief of a higher nature concerning the end of this mortal existence is, perhaps, a matter of unequivocal record somewhere, and his expectations of the nature of what becomes us following this transitory life remain with him in death, and travel with him to wherever his spirit may travel to, or not, and where it may reside for eternity, or otherwise. In dying, he leaves behind, well, all of you, and me, and not forgetting those who are not here, but whom he also leaves behind, but clearly somewhere else that isn't here. And so I must inevitably draw to a close in my brief sojourn into the life of Michael, the man, whom I have no hesitation in referring to him being as such, that is, a man. A vital point that I'm 100% certain is something which we could all agree upon, that he was a man who in every fibre of his body was male. I extend my condolences to his family here today, or not, as the case may be, particularly, and of course not forgetting, how could we ever, our dear gentleman, a people with whom he shared an indissoluble bond, comprising as they do family, or to use the much more liberal and encompassing epithet, relatives, of varying classifications and varieties, and not forgetting all of those who join us at this service, who shared his journey through life, be they friends, colleagues, or indeed not. We share your sense of the loss of such a dear, much-loved, admired person, man, being as he was of that great historical and collective body of other men, stretching back into the mists of time and providing such a fine example at all times of his life, as a man, the epitome of a man's man, a man you all have your own recollections of, and which remain private and, therefore, blessedly, totally, expectedly, and completely unknown to me. And now we are going to hear, I believe, a piece of music which was so special to Malcolm, for some reason known to him and undoubtedly to some or perhaps all of you, or maybe none of you, but which now affords us the opportunity to sit for a moment in quiet contemplation, and thankfully requiring me to say absolutely nothing. Please sit back, close your eyes if you wish, and allow this piece of music to wash over you and remind you of a very, very dear man who we all knew and indeed admired, respected, cherished, loved so very, very much, or not. And as we leave this place, as we will do so very, very soon, we will pass by Morris for the last time. And as you do, allow yourself a moment of quiet contemplation to gaze upon his coffin and consider that beautifully inscribed plate upon it, bearing as it does the details of the man we mourn today, a blessed reminder, especially for me, of a man I will never, ever forget. Rest in peace, Kieran.